Welcome to the Inspired Caring podcast, where women who are in the messy middle of this big, beautiful, and sometimes chaotic life are finding inspiration and resources to care for themselves and figure out the best options to care for their aging loved ones. How we take care of ourselves today impacts how we are aging tomorrow. This podcast will help you feel seen, centered, and aligned. Everyone that relies on you is so lucky to have you in their life. The Inspired Caring podcast is your reminder that the number one person that counts on you is yourself. Congratulations on being here in this moment. Let's dive in and be inspired. Today on Inspired Caring, we have Brent Roberts with us, who is a filmmaker. And I actually want to hear all of your roles and titles, because when you're working on independent projects, I'm sure you're wearing a lot of hats. But we are talking about a film that he is currently working on around Alzheimer's disease. So welcome, Brent.
Thank you so much. It's great to see you bright and shiny this morning.
Yes, you as well. So share with us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, it's pretty diverse as my roles on set and with this film. Many hyphens and titles, but I've got a background that feels all over. I'll try to summarize it nice and concise for you.
Fair.
Grew up Midwest, so hey, all Midwest folks. Illinois farm kid. So was shoveling corn out of a grain bin, out there walking beans, John Deere tractors, all those rural kid delights. And it's why I left at 17.
You're like, I'm tired.
My back hurts. And I left for Bible college. I went to pursue a degree in youth ministry because I wanted to be much like a youth minister who'd influenced me with my faith and everything growing up. But I had done musical theater in every club you possibly could in my very small school, and loved singing, performing. So through school and all of my various travels and internships in Africa and a church in Las Vegas for a year, I decided I wanted to craft a traveling drama team. So instead of using preaching, we would use sketches and skits, mostly a lot of humor that I wrote because I'm a pretty, comical, fun guy. I love Saturday Night Live, have since I was in, 4th, 5th grade. And we would travel the country to camps, conferences, churches, prisons, doing this stuff with a team. My parents bought us this van and we were all over the country. Amazing. So traveling preacher, man. And it was amazing. I really loved it. And the power of story through that. It took a while, but I eventually caught up with myself and I came out as LGBTQ, which of course back in those days, being a Christian evangelical and that didn't work well together. So I took myself out before someone could take me out. And it was a very painful loss, but I quickly regrouped. I'd moved to Las Vegas where I was based in the ministry and fell into real estate by default. So
as one would.
Right. Yeah. I became a real estate broker and was selling Las Vegas and doing odd little film things here and there. I was on Miss Congeniality 2 on the Strip, high-fiving Sandra Bullock as background extra 312, whatever, at 2 a.m. Some more theater. And so once again, I caught up with myself to be like, you haven't gone anywhere. You still love storytelling. You still love performing as an actor, a speaker. I was doing continued jail ministry.
Wow.
And I eventually took a role as a cruise director. And I went out to sea for a year and a half. And so fast forward a decade and other things caught up with me that's your drinking's more than the average person drinks. And the cruise ships spit me up like a Jonah whale into rehab. And I'm now nearing 13 years of sobriety. That's changed so much, obviously, with the game of my life. I worked at SeaWorld San Diego, where I went to rehab for a minute. I worked at 24 Hour Fitness, rebuilding my life, became a California broker. And once again, sitting in San Diego doing real estate, it's like, hey, remember how much you love storytelling and acting and how close you are to LA? So moved there, pursued things as an actor, pursued things as a writer, and then started, collaborating with other filmmakers and actors, making our own projects, to opening my own production company and being a producer director. Take a breath. That was, how did I do? Was that?
I mean, and you're not 189 years old.
All the gray hairs in the back of my head. It's there.
I mean, it's amazing. And like the diversity of the spaces that you were in, I feel like you have been exposed to the most glorious cast of characters in your lifetime that you could forever just be telling stories about your experiences.
Nailed it better. I feel like Ron Burgundy from Anchorman, all over here and there with like, and then I went here. I have met so many diverse and beautiful, wonderful people. So, from growing up in that small town with one stoplight, and the excitement of McDonald's as soon as I graduated high school, like, it took me from that, very small context to all over the world. I've traveled and seen and been, and just, I've got many, many things in the pipeline that I have written, that I'm working on. And, people ask, where'd that story come from? Well, so, a lot of things I've lived.
Right. Yeah. This chapter. So where are you home based now?
Now I am based in Los Angeles, in a little neighborhood called Toluca Lake. It's close to Burbank. So there's all these little pockets of essentially little cities within this giant city, that are neighborhoods in Los Angeles. And so I've been here, I think, 7-8 years at this point.
I have family in Studio City.
Yeah. Everybody knows somebody from LA.
Yeah. Well,
Weirdos who end up here, but it's like,
and I'm originally from Berkeley, California, so it comes a little,
Did you grow up in California then?
I grew up between Brooklyn Heights, New York, and Berkeley, California. Moved when I was 11. So arguably, I guess I say I'm from Berkeley.
Okay.
But most of my childhood was based on the East Coast.
And you're where now? Where's home base now?
I'm in Omaha, Nebraska, smack in the middle.
Hey, home of the is Nebraska the home of the Corn Palace, where there's a giant palace made of corn?
I mean, that would make sense, and I don't know.
I remember traveling there. I did a lot of Dakota and Nebraska back in those traveling days, but it's funny, never ending, thinking I would end up going back to Iowa so many times to capture Luke's story with this documentary. Didn't anticipate this curveball landing on my plate, but here we are, thus talking with you.
Yes, and so, I mean, what a great segue. We connected because you are shooting this film around this gentleman named Luke, and he is like really quite famous, infamous on social media. He received an Alzheimer's diagnosis in his 40s and is fifth generation to have this diagnosis, and especially with younger onset. So share a little bit about how you did connect with Luke.
Yeah, I mean, as you sit here and describe it, I'm like, I know the story. I've got it on my hands for the last 2.5 plus years. But as I hear someone else describe it to me, it's just like, oh, wow. So
wow.
When my buddy Brian, who I met in Vegas, I was in a small little Bible study group with his soon-to-be wife, was my friend, and we connected. I ended up marrying them and helping them get their first house. So I
oh my gosh, that's like a package.
Yeah, and then I delivered their baby. Brent has to stop with the hyphens. At some point, it has to stop, the rules. But Brian had grown up in Norwalk, Iowa, this small little town like I did in Illinois. And he is one of my closest friends in life. To no matter where we go, we always catch up, and he's got such great depth. And he knew that I had just started a production company. And he's like, Brent, he's like, have you ever thought about doing documentary? And like, I'm like, yeah, that'd be great. I'm like, da, da. He's like, what about Alzheimer's? I'm like, oh, no, 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 thank you. That sounds really bad
Mm-hmm.
and a hard thing to talk about. And he did the same thing you just did, where he said, well, my buddy Luke, who I grew up with, his family's been through this 5 times. I'm like, man. And he's like, his mother and his sister and now him in his 40s. I'm like, wait a minute, that's around my age. That's way too young. That's this is so sad.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't think so. This seems really sad and heavy. And you know me, I'm fun and playful. But he's like, hang on, let me get him on the phone and on a Zoom. And so, of course, you've met Luke.
Mm-hmm.
Within minutes of meeting this guy, and especially watching those two, they're like little school kids, man. They banter and jab and poke, and he's like, "You forgetful bastard," and all these things. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, are we supposed to be joking like this?" But the answer is, of course we are, because we're human. And by the time that friggin' 45-minute conversation with those two ended, I shut my laptop and I just sat there, and there's tears streaming down my face, and I'm like, "Well, I guess I'm making a documentary on Alzheimer's." And that's the beginning of this story. And, from that first time, meeting Luke on that Zoom to so many phone calls and so many Zooms and times in person, he is such a close friend to me. And so this story has been hard to compartmentalize, where I've had to keep it compartmentalized to keep my composure at various times when we record and we're on set, like capturing things. I'm sitting there listening to my own heart beat out of my chest, and it's like, nope, don't do it, tear ducts, not
Yeah.
today. You got a job to do. And we've tried to keep it, on that angle. So that power of connection in the journey, right, is how I got connected back to this beautiful family and this incredible community that has come around this family and this man to elevate him in this story that's just reminded me of the beauty of having a tribe around you and that small town feel that's like, we're with you, Luke, all the way. It's been very inspiring to be a part of.
And, I would offer, I think just like people who are in the area of healthcare, like we obviously have to, it's important that we remain professional and we do the work. And as a storyteller, like your experience and how you're feeling on set, that is what draws him probably out of his shell to feel so comfortable and connected with you, to feel safe to share his story.
Very much so. Oftentimes, I mean, I'm an actor and I love the spotlight. And don't make me sing. Oh, here's the mic. I'm a ham, but it's like when I with this, I'm like, nope, nope, nope. I am behind the camera and I can't wait to direct this. But then I found myself so many times it's just I'm talking with him and we're taking a walk and then the camera spins around. It's like, no, I'm not in this story. But in our friendship, it's been hard not to unfold so many beautiful natural conversations. And that's documentary, right? I'm not scripting scenes like, okay, Luke. And then it has just unfolded itself so perfectly. It's like, I look at my cinematographer, Peter, who's also a close friend. I'm like, you couldn't have written that any better. I can't believe he just said that or did that. Can we show that? There's so much
Yeah.
that he has done that's just been beautiful for the camera and the mic to capture with this absolute ham of a human being. He's just a friggin' delight of a human being. And he's got this glow wherever he goes, as do so many people, Michelle, right? Like there's these family members, I'm sure, because my question burning for you is like, how'd you get involved with all of this? Who did you know that you loved, that you were close with, that had that magical humor and such a caring spirit that damn this disease for threatening to take all of that from us, from thinking, and I have to remind myself sometimes, oh yeah, I know how this one ends, and this really sucks. So
Right.
the beauty with him is the majority of what we're doing is just being us, playful, full of laughter. And it's why I said yes to this, right? Because I saw so many documentaries doing my research on this that it's like, oh gosh, this is sad. And I just sink in the sadness of it because so much of it is by the bedside and the later stages in so many stories that it's like, okay, I think there's been enough stories out there with that. We got it, that it gets really bad and it gets real sad. We caught Luke, in is like a pretty good place. And then over the last, 2.5 years, I've had to recognize the last time I saw him, it's like, oh, there goes my buddy. And the things that the family sees more every single day, when I haven't seen him in 3 months, I catch up and recognize there's the disease. There's the disease coming after someone I love and I've grown so close with. And so will audiences everywhere to remember that this disease is such a thief in so many more ways than one, right? It's not just having a terminal diagnosis for which there's no cure. It's the odd and sad, frustrating journey this disease takes one on like, oh, they're having a good day. And it's like, oh, it's just this long grief. And through it all, Luke's lens has been laughter, a playful spirit, this positive attitude. I'm here for a good time, not a long time.
I love that tagline.
I do too.
Yeah. I'm here for a good time, not a long time.
Yeah. And obviously our brand,
yes,
kick Alzheimer's and the Balzheimer's, that it's like, oh, that is fun. Like, let's do that. Let's kick this thing square in the balls with the way we fight back. And what does that mean? It means to exist joyfully and with as much happiness. And so a part of my side goal has just been I'm going to give this guy the biggest Make-A-Wish type adult kid story. So we've thought of so many fun things to put him through and do with him that he is just okay, let's do it. And we've made happen to be a part of the film that I think this particular Alzheimer's documentary and story is one that's going to make people go wait a minute, that doesn't look like an old person's disease. You're telling me that guy is losing his memory and functions and all the things that Alzheimer's and dementia can take. So I think it will make people really lean in with laughter and then trust Luke to take them by the hand through some of these parts that people don't wish to hear or walk through, that so many people like you have had on your podcast and in your life. They know that dark valley very well. And I really hope this story invites people into some of those spaces to see, this is why we need more and more of you to come along with us and be beside us and go give those caregivers an encouraging word or a gift or a break, or the help, the resources, the money, you name it, that is needed towards and for managing this, living with this, and how to research the future development of getting so close to a cure and all the things. I've become such a passionate advocate, I guess, because this beautiful human named Luke. I'm sorry, I feel like I'm laughing so much. So let's get back to you.
This is fabulous. Just push play and let you go. This is amazing. Right. This is so exactly. I want to ask about
you. How do you have 200? How many episodes of this podcast? 200.
A couple hundred episodes.
You have a lot. Yeah. So I want to tell you, well done, lady. What a magnificent project to be so proud of all the guests you've had on and your editing and so much that goes into getting this launched. So thank you for such an awesome platform that you've kept going in such huge. That's huge. And tell me how you got in there.
Thank you. It's one of those, you kind of stumble forward into something and then just keep showing up and not sure, many projects that you work on, you're not sure how it's going to be received or who it will reach. And you just keep showing up and keep going because of the great people you get to meet, like you today, right now. How fun. If I had stopped, we wouldn't be sitting here talking. So what a thrill. I met Luke. He came to Omaha to speak at a conference. Shout out to Legato Living, who has small residential assisted livings around the country. And they brought him in because the owner, the CEO of Legato, is such a fangirl of his and watches every video. And she just had that aha moment, we have to get Luke. Luke needs to come and talk to us about his experience and journey. And you're right. He is magnetic and just lights up the room. And he and his brother Shannon are laughing and joking. And someone asked him, was this
so
your
ruggedly handsome?
I mean, he
can't deny.
He is very
He never lets
handsome.
us forget that he is so what Ruggedly handsome Luke.
Ruggedly handsome. Yes. Like this guy can pull off a polo and cowboy boots and whatever. Um, but one of the questions asked of him from the audience was, were you this laid back and jovial prior to Alzheimer's? And I don't know if he has touched much on that within the storytelling that he has shared, but he really circled back to, I'm here for a good time, not a long time. And that has just been his mode of operation since his diagnosis. I think one of the things that you're doing with the film is really bending what's possible, because in our family, to answer your question, my mother-in-law was diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia, and I was working in a memory care prior to her diagnosis. And it was a little heart-wrenching because she received the diagnosis and it felt like she and my father-in-law went home, essentially drew the blinds, turned on the TV, and waited for the disease to get worse, waited for the next shoe to drop, and it just, I don't know, it was just a few years of that. And ultimately, for our family, the best decision was for her to move, and for her, quality of life, the best decision was to move to memory care. So I love that you, with Luke, are really expanding what is possible after a diagnosis, because I think it's very easy to just become consumed with that disease process or a journey. I don't know if you have any additional thoughts on that.
I do. And first of all, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry to you that that happened to you and your family. It's not fair. And I think even though we know this, so many people need to hear it wasn't your fault. You did your best as a caregiver. There's nothing you missed, because no one's prepared for this journey. No one gave you the 10-point or the handbook on, like, here you go. Here's how to be a good family member through this, or a good caregiver. I think in the middle of it and at the end of it, what I have gleaned is, like, so many people can feel like they've let down the most beloved person in their life. And that's just such BS to me. No one is set to care for this properly, because this is something that requires immense understanding and a skill set of how to handle it. And then even, I'm sure the memory care facility you were at was like, well, some days we don't know. You got to keep up with if you've met one person with Alzheimer's, you've met one person with Alzheimer's, is one of the best quotes I've ever met along this journey. That, of course, it affects so many people in similar things that many people can go, oh gosh, us too, me too. But how it may have affected your mother-in-law, to how it affected Luke's mom, to Luke could be different in attitude, in spirit, and did they get mean, or what was the progress, stair steps of the disease? It can keep giving that, like, oh, that's weird. It's such a baffling thing. So you're very right. And I think in a compassionate sense, that's all some people can do in their grief, is sit back and wait, because they're so heartbroken that they don't want this. They don't know how to deal with this. And so it's just like, ugh, I don't want to come out from this. I don't want to come up from under the covers.
Right.
And I think another huge component of why I'm so passionate about this is clearly I'm open to talking about anything in my life. And I think a lot of problems sometimes that religion may get us into, or this notion of we don't talk about that. We shouldn't talk about that. And my question back is, why not? Why shouldn't we? And as soon as I'm told, don't look in there, where do I want to look? You know what I mean? That the more things we don't talk about, when we start to, more and more people will say, oh God, thank you so much for saying that in such transparent honesty, because I have felt that way deeply and wondered that same question myself. And when we bravely start to open up and talk about some of these things of, like, I don't know what I'm doing and I'm scared, or I don't want to do this. Some days I don't want to be a caregiver anymore. You know what I mean? It gives other people the freedom to say, hey, me too, but keep going. You're doing great. It's just this beautiful human force of wind and spirit in our sails to keep going in this fashion of ultimately love that is our core component that keeps us all moving through life, right? And I want to take a wrecking ball to shame and stigma around all of this.
Mm.
The 2/3 that are obviously diagnosed are women. It makes me wonder if a lot of diagnoses take longer because men just can't and won't talk about it or acknowledge something is
Mm.
wrong with my brain. Something is wrong.
Yeah.
I'm not functioning like I know myself to function. And if I let my family down, if I let my blah down, I'm half a man. And back to women who carry everything, same thing sometimes. And once a family gets a diagnosis, oh gosh, okay, let's wait to tell everybody. And you do have to figure out how to convey it as you figure out how you're going to start to walk this path. But there can be such an unnecessary component of shame and stigma of like, what's going to happen? What are we going to lose? And there's truth to it. But the more and more we go confront that little jerk head on and put a spotlight on it, more people are like, we're not going to do that. We're not going to allow you to sink into the shadows. You open that door, let us in there. Let us take you to dinner. Let us sit with you and try to understand this and let you have space to share what your family's going through, what your husband, what your son, what your mom, your dad. So that, man, once again, we sit around the fire together as people and figure out how are we going to slay this dragon? How are we going to get rid of this thing so we can have longer, better life? And so many components to sit around the fire and talk about how you handled it, because how you guys did it, maybe I need to pick up that little piece and put it in my pocket to hold on to or share that with somebody else. So I think as a storyteller and as a filmmaker, that's what I'm just trying to do, right? We're getting slivers of Luke's life, and I want to share that with an audience to not feel alone, to feel some hope, to laugh a little and hopefully a lot, because you just can't help it with this guy. And this family who are so fun-loving, but at the same time, especially Luke's brother Shannon, who you met, he's so tough. They're this wrestling family from background, and Shannon's so quiet. And I knew it the moment I met this dude. And of course, as you can tell, I'm a crier. I will cry at the drop of a hat. A commercial, the old Kodak commercials where they cue the music and they're in the mud. You remember those commercials? Shannon seems like such a tough shell to crack. And then just 2 or 3 questions with me on the other side of the camera, and he's turning into mush, as a beautiful human should, about the weight on his shoulders as the brother who didn't get the diagnosis, and the brother who has carried the weight of mom, sister, and now younger brother, still while managing his family and looking at his own nieces and nephews and wondering, with this genetic thing passing down. It's just, he's such a strong, fun-loving guy. But then man, the moment he lets us in and we see so many characters around Luke in this journey unfold and let us have their tears and their pain, that so many other people will feel and be like, man, that's our family. It's just, I'm so excited for the ripple effect this is going to have to help people lean in and want to learn more, want to show up at the Walk to End Alzheimer's, that we just blow the numbers up, that we keep funding and giving to the, other than the government and what they're doing. The Alzheimer's Association being such a powerhouse that has done immense work for Alzheimer's research and development and community, and then so many other small niche things that are focusing on this and doing great work. I want to elevate those, and then we get to the other part of the conversation of this story, right?
Yeah. Well, and I mean, is that, I feel like you've touched on several things around what your goals are with the film. I mean, it sounds like we want to eradicate shame. We want to help families connect the dots between maybe little things that are working for other people, see themselves hopefully in Luke. I love the idea of bending what's possible after the diagnosis and really bringing in more fun and joy into their lives. You mentioned so correctly, you meet one person with Alzheimer's, you've met one person with Alzheimer's. I had this aha while you were talking that the common denominator is everyone now needs to become a master at improv. And you and I should start a traveling improv group for caregivers teaching improv so that people are like seasoned in the yes and methodology.
Don't get me back on the road. I'll do it. Oh God. And
But
see,
so
little ideas like that are what, yes, do it. Let's
sure.
go. It
Yeah.
yeah.
How fun is that?
Mm.
Um, so are there any other like goals or desires for the film? I will say, and I mean, maybe this is unfolding real time. Shannon and Luke mentioned another goal that they are having for the film, and I don't want to make any spoilers about some decisions that he has for himself
Yeah.
long term. So I don't know if that's something that is happening real time or unfolding or what you can share with us.
Yeah. Well, I think, as a filmmaker, a storyteller, a producer, you have to gather the whole story and be like, now what is this story I'm telling? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then this happens, and then the epiphany comes here, and then the climactic thing to the ending. But with this, there's no script. And you can't watch the actors do things or cue them to get in their spots or their marks. And, from the get-go with this, I said yes to this because it's that fun-loving story, right? And then, like the first, in some of the first conversations, I get the bombshell dropped on me that
Mm.
Luke does not wish to die like his mother and his sister did on the long path of Alzheimer's and going down that way, in choosing his own peaceful ending with his autonomy to go with some grace and dignity still in place, that he gets to be there and aware and not taken down into a place where he doesn't recognize family members and all that. So him bringing that into the conversation, I sit back the first few times I hear that, I'm like, oh boy, okay, okay.
And I think you're going to need to really spell it out for us because I know where we're going with this. So, yeah.
Yeah. So no one likes to talk about death. Like I said before, when we're born, it's like, hey, welcome to the world, kiddo. Doctor slaps your buns. We don't know much what's going to happen, but one thing we do know, you're going to die someday.
Yeah.
The rest, improv, baby. And and yet, it's the one thing we do not talk about. We do not
Mm-hmm.
plan for. We plan for a birth. Like, okay, what color is it going to be? When's okay? Do you want the epidural? And so many components of welcoming life. And sometimes we kind of just fail on planning and talking about and preparing and about the exit of life, as it's supposed to be this scary giant thing when we know it's coming. We all know it's coming one day. It could be the moment I end this Zoom. It could be 30 years from now on my rocking chair on a porch talking about one time I did a documentary. But it's coming for all of us, right? Death is a part of life. And again, to use this lens in talking about a disease for which there's no cure, this is a terminal disease. So we all know the ending of this story until something shifts and changes. The unique conversation Luke wishes to have and the family is bringing to the table, and this story will build a table so we can belly up and be like, and tell me more about that. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know how I feel about that morally or ethically. You get to unfold and ask those hard questions and talk them through, and you recognize, oh man, there's some serious compassion to be considered here. There's some human understanding to get here. And caregivers who've done this journey for 12 years, 15 years, and so many that I've heard were like, yep, until you don't know. That had I known a peaceful option was available, that it was even an option for us to take. I think that's the key in talking about end of life options, is having the option where you go to your doctor and they say, hey, just also so you know, this is out there if you want to do that. You guys unpack that, talk about that. Here's a pamphlet, or come back and let's have a sub conversation about it. In my understanding, where the United States stands on the access with medical assistance in dying is now available in 13 or 14 states.
13 states.
Okay, a few of them are still working on it
Mm-hmm.
about how it works out, but there's some pretty strict boundaries of you have to have that 6 months to live. You have to have the doctor say this, that, and the other. And a lot of people who do go in and say, we want that, and they get the medicine, they take it home and it just sits in their medicine cabinet, and they end up dying of from their disease because they just needed the peace to know that it was in the medicine cabinet if ever the threshold of suffering became too great to bear, that they together and collectively were able to say, we get it, Mom. It's time. And family, we all acknowledged and honored someone's wishes or wants, to hold their hand as they go, to be there, to sing a song or to play whatever it is in the exit out of this journey. To me, it's knocked down the walls for me of this being black and white. And I had to release my own grip on some of this, that I'm like, oh, okay. And even we met a cool friend in Canada. We recently went to Canada, me, Shannon, and Luke, to meet a gal named Rebecca. She's all tatted up. She's got cherry hot lips and sassy, filthy mouth and fun humor. She's so smart, and we love her. She is like a TikTok star. She just sits there and talks to camera. She's a talker like me. And she, 48, got her diagnosis. We were going to drag bingo here in LA with Luke and Jen, his sister-in-law, to meet Seth Rogen and his wife, who have done so much for Alzheimer's and caregivers with Hilarity for Charity.
Yeah.
It's very, very close to us. We were all getting ready to go to the event when Rebecca, I believe, got her official and full diagnosis of Alzheimer's. And, within a few months, fast forward, she had her paperwork approved for medical assistance in dying. And we were like, wait, what? You're getting what Luke's wanting and talking about, but has to go to Switzerland because there's no option for anyone with dementia and Alzheimer's here in the States. So you're forced to spend thousands of dollars and so much time and planning and things to go abroad. And anyway, we met with her, and these two are just having the most beautiful, fun, hilarious conversations. And then she looks at him and she says, oh, I don't want this for you. She's like, I'm doing it for me, but I don't, and I talk about it all the time freely because it's me, but as I'm sitting here loving Luke, I don't want that for you. And he's like, yeah, me either. Of course we don't want this.
Right.
But we don't want dementia or Alzheimer's either. We don't want to ride that train of this slow death, so it's worth bringing to the table until there's a cure. What more are our options, especially for a family that has seen this so many times over? And Luke doesn't want this for himself, doesn't want to put his family through this again. We don't want to have this conversation, but we want to have the option to have this conversation. And we talked with a doctor there who's wrote a book, Dr. Stephanie Green, who started in maternity. And so we're at her office talking, and she has, the wallpaper is tons of pictures of baby faces that she's delivered in her career. And we go from that beautiful conversation of life entering to life exiting, and how many people she's helped in the process as a doctor who specializes or helps Canadians with that. And we're just like, oh! So we joked, like, let's get married. Luke and Rebecca, one wedding, 2 funerals, and we'll I'll officiate all of them. But again, back to the point, it's just about raising more into this conversation of what are the options, what does it look like? Like with one of your former guests who talked about taking her husband over to Switzerland, to one of the 4 companies there that do this, as the only country that allows foreigners to come in and have access to this at a big price tag of the time and money and being there. And something, again, I heard from her conversation is, and similar to Amy Bloom, her book, In Love, with her husband who did the same thing, when to share this with people, how to share this with people. I want this conversation to be broader and easier to share with people. So many people do better to not say those awful things that sometimes you hear at funerals that people in grief don't want to hear as they pass by, right? To do better to not tell people how they should. Or have you thought about eating celery or whatever it is along the way?
Oh my gosh. My friend's husband was diagnosed with cancer, and she messaged me like a week later and said, do you know what? Everyone has a cure for cancer. I had no idea. Like, I guess we should just start a blog about all that.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. And we're doing our best to trust science and the decades and decades of research and to make our own choices on how we're going to navigate this. But I guess for all of us, helping craft Luke's law, which is a law that this family wishes to put on the books, to bring before the floor in the Iowa House, to say when we start talking about medical assistance in dying and bringing it as an option for the state of Iowa, can we also include this verbiage that gives people autonomy in the early stages of diagnosis to figure out the parameters, the windows, the boundaries, and the guidelines, the strong guidelines that need to be there to keep this on the correct path, right? And nobody wants to be a mustache twisting, like, ooh, here we go for the money or the get grandma out, that it likes to be spun into with the journey already in this conversation and the conservative American struggle to have this access in medicine and in healthcare, when essentially, what is hospice if not the same thing of like, can we crank up the morphine? It's just, what else could we give them? What is that? If the medicine's being given towards hospice to give them a peaceful out so that they don't what? Don't suffer.
Right.
What's the difference really in all that conversation to be had? They wish to raise this so that with Alzheimer's, with dementia, millions of people, millions of Americans get to have this conversation with their doctor, with their hospice care, that they get a better alternative than what they've seen and experienced. And it's hard to talk about. It's hard to do our faith and how we feel about death and life. And I don't want you to go, of course, I get it. But then you unpack some of the stories of people who've chosen a rough suicide alternative, that it's like, well, what does that do? That leaves people in full trauma after they've already been traumatized by this so much. So it's how can we get there in a peaceful way that is a compassionate choice for people, that's a peaceful ending? I don't know. For me, it's my hope and my prayer that this film brings a fire underneath this, that Luke's law and Luke's story becomes one that shakes the planet. That's like, I've got a Luke in my life, or for the next young Luke who comes along, they won't have to wrestle with all this. They get to unpack this and have bigger, broader conversations that immediately cut the shame out, cut the fear as best as possible out, to say, here's what this is, here's your options, we're with you, no matter what you decide or how you want to navigate this. And I don't know. That's my answer. I don't know. But what I do know is I hope this gets in. I hope that people much, much smarter than me and smarter than other people who've walked this, like, let's structure it like this. Let's have it look like this. So no one tries to overstep the boundaries, or so that it's each patient and doctor's choice, and that what do you need so that it satisfies saying, well, you're not trying to play God, are you? Or whatever it is, to give people this this hope in all of this.
Well, and you're absolutely right. Oregon did a recent study that indicated people are receiving the prescriptions for those medications that can end their life, but there's fewer people actually taking the medications. And I mean, hospice does not hasten death. And I know that you know that. And I just want to reiterate for the listeners that hospice is not assisted suicide. That is around quality of life and pain management. And in fact, what's really fascinating is the data shows us that opening the conversation around medical aid in dying actually can increase less usage and an increase in conversation around hospice. So, but to your point, it's options. Like, we want to have options so that we have autonomy in our life. And if we have a diagnosis that we know is terminal within the next 6 months, I think there is a lot of love, support, and grace around knowing that your community and culturally and within society, you're not going against the grain to engage with something like this. Right. As an option for yourself. Yeah. You know, and I'm on record on my last podcast with that author that you talked about, sharing that my father-in-law participated and made in Canada. He had a terminal pancreatic cancer diagnosis, and it was the ending that he wanted for his life, because he knew he had tipped the scale on suffering. Like, that his quality of life on that last hospital visit, he was not going to regain the quality of life that he wanted to live. So he had that as an option. So I think back to Luke and his story, I love that through this, not only is he working to maintain humor and share his approach to this disease process with the world, but he is looking for part of his legacy to have this lasting impact in the legislature. Is what a busy guy.
Yeah. And it has been work keeping up with him, and making the things happen. Like you shared that he came to Omaha. I'm like, he did what? And
Yeah.
I caught up with his family. We went and talked with a skilled nursing care facility there in Iowa because Luke had been showing up to volunteer there. I'm like, he did what? And so, and we've had so many, throughout this journey, had so many incredible conversations with so many people who know this, right? We met Larry, a caregiver out of San Diego who cared for his dad and his own mom, to be such a strong male figure who was the primary caregiver. To empowered endings, talking about voluntarily surrendering of eating and drinking as an option in San Diego. We've talked to, just so many people along the way who have Alzheimer's and they've done the long journey, other caregivers, and the places we've been, the things we've seen. And, to continue pushing the envelope, we've done very fun things. We had a surprise Suck at Alzheimer's party with Suck at Alzheimer's shots and some skilled, talented pole artists dancing. And I bought a casket, and we did Casket Confessions talk show with red wine included. And we just set up a little talk show with Luke in a casket to force us to bring humor into talking about death, of like, well, what happened? What if you reincarnate? What do you want to be? A donkey? And just on and on, of like so many fun things we've done, that no matter what the topic, we brought fun conversation to it, but then in the next turn, obviously, the seriousness and gravity and respect on all of this, that what we're talking about. So never have I wanted to be like, oh, he's just disrespecting this. I don't want that to happen, as a filmmaker. I want to honor so many people who walked through this with dignity, the beautiful power of family and hope and what we've all done. And it's a massive combination, right? Because he's been the mission speaker of the Alzheimer's Walk 2 years in a row. So to watch him speak to the sea, but of course, trying to have a conversation like this, like we just have with the Alzheimer's Association, it's like, oh, well, we don't really want to talk about that so much, but we've got to, because there's so many people in that sea of people and in the Alzheimer's community at large who want to have this conversation and need to. So it's a yes and to all of that as well, right? And that's sometimes the hard part of raising funds. And getting enough in to make this happen and get it across the finish line. People being sure of what is the message. And it's like, the message is, let's have the conversation. The message is, let's watch one man's journey and how fun it is. What can we take from it that we apply to our own lives and stories? And like, I don't necessarily receive that. That's okay. You don't have to. You don't have to take every part of what Luke's story is. It's not for everyone. This is one guy's journey and process along the way. And the beauty is we all get to live our own walk through this. And then hopefully with respect from other people to say, hey, that's okay, how you guys want to walk and navigate this as well. That how I view the world can't impact how you want to legally or other things. Maybe we can get there someday. That it's just a big, big conversation to broaden this through the beautiful lens of Luke. So I just hope more and more people, as I get news around this story, hear this and are like, I want to be a part of that story and can chip in with funding or sharing, because I still need a lot of money to get this across the finish line. Independent filmmaking is very, very freaking hard. There's a lot of my own money in this, credit in this. And, of course, me like taking a penny or a paycheck is like, well, maybe, maybe someday.
Yeah.
But right now, and if I don't, the beautiful goal is going to be sitting next to him in the theater, and that's my urgency. And this always gets my throat tight. It's just like, I want to sit next to him in the theater and watch this before I lose that option, and just see what a beautiful thing we've made together. And I've got that on the books. I set a date of June 20th. I'm not sure what we're going to watch yet, but we're watching something of to see how far we are with where the film is in a close to finished product with so many other layers of color grading and sound and a special effects thing and that go into the edit that each of their own are thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And the flights to get there, the meals for the crew, there's so many things. It's like, oh yeah, you look at the credits of a film and then you start to add up the budget. You're like, oh, no wonder some movies can be 10 million, 20 million. Because it's like, yeah, it's,
Yeah.
I sit there and edit some of these little videos, a 1 minute like video, and an hour and a half later, I'm like, how am I devoting so much time to constructing 1 minute of that to take 90 minutes of a film and to edit that? That's no wonder it's like $1,000 a minute.
But I mean, you can feel it. You can feel it when you see it on the screen, those moments that someone painstakingly took I mean, you've captured hours and painstakingly watched all of that to get it down to that one take. And you're like, oh, as an audience member. And that's what we want for our listeners right now, is to really connect with Luke, connect with this story. I will definitely be putting a link in the show notes so that people can make contributions to keep this project going. And we do have urgency because, as the Alzheimer's Association frequently says, Alzheimer's is not stopping and neither are we. There is urgency because there is a disease process that is continuing for Luke. And so we want this to find its home in a theater when he can still see it, absorb it, and appreciate his contribution and this part of his legacy of what he's leaving behind for us. How do people follow along? Like, how do people, what on social media, what's the name of the film? I mean, is it Kick Alzheimer's and the Balzheimer's?
That would be a great title, wouldn't it? Come see Kick Alzheimer's in the Balzheimer's in a theater near you. The name of the film is Forgetting to Remember. And I grabbed this title because, as you brainstorm something, I was just like, two of the biggest questions as I've unfolded this are like, well, gosh, when will he know it's time? As one of the most important. But then the second one, what happens if he forgets to remember this is what he wants to do? Yeah. And that's what you know what I mean? What I don't want, but I want. So Forgetting to Remember is the name of the title. And I think that will resonate with so many that they just forgot to remember our wedding date or my name or the fact that I just wiped their butt or whatever it is that so many caregivers and people know. The daily grief, sometimes the double death of watching your loved one's identity fade away. And just, man, those hands that hold at when it's said and done, gosh, that's what I want in a line to show up to buy tickets for this somewhere at a theater. My dream as a filmmaker, I love going to the movies. I love when the lights go down and the big screen comes on. And I think as a kid, I've always loved it. It's why it's chased me my whole life, how much I love telling story. And when I get drawn in to take away of this giant shark on the orca, or even the Smurfs movie as a little boy, or E.T., you name it, that transports you when you're in that dark theater. So I will always hope that this is done in a theater where afterwards you feel that collective breath from people you've just gone on a journey with collectively, rather than in your own living room with Netflix or HBO. I want that impact too, because I think as people watch on the couch, they'll breathe that same and feel more of a wiping the tears and laughing.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's called Forgetting to Remember. So you can go to forgettingtoremember.com. That is our main source for everything, where you can find where to follow us on social media. There's the drop-down menu in the corner of the website, forgettingtoremember.com, where you can go buy merch. When you buy a cap or a hoodie or a t-shirt, that does help. But the biggest contribution, I turned myself into a nonprofit organization as well. So donations can be tax deductible, and I can receive larger donations and give special accolades to someone who wants to donate bigger amounts to get us across the finish line. And even after it's finished, the budget's still there to get this out to film festivals, and for bigger studios or people to be like, no, what is that? Come here, Brent, let's talk about this. And making sure I connect with the right connections that aren't going to take our beautiful story and try to edit it into something that it's not. I'm going to do my best to guard this very carefully and walk through this as long as I can with his family. At the New Road Productions is where to find my production company and me, and that comes cheesily from the name of my traveling drama ministry. The Road Ministries was what I used, and 20 years later, I resurrected that to still be that same storyteller. The New Road Productions. So on Facebook, it's the New Road Productions, and on Instagram, at the New Road Productions, and then the biggest websites forgetting to remember. And then, it's not just financially, but like so many people who contribute along the way. I'm so cheesy and I can't apologize for it. It's just true that every shovelful of money helps. We do this thing called 20 on 20, where every month on the 20th, how many of you can give $20? And that's like 2 cups of coffee, right? But
in LA.
Right, yeah, with the cinnamon spice cardamom, whatever it is, and my avocado toast. That's all I spend my money on out here. Every bit friggin' helps. And it's so beautiful because then if you stand back and look at all of the people who made this story happen, I get to jump on the giant megaphone and like, all of you, we did it together rather than one big billionaire. I mean, if you're out there, Mr. Big Billionaire, Mrs. Millionaire, please come talk to me.
We'll take it. Yeah.
Give me a piece of mind. But the beauty of this specific story is that so many people know this. So many people have been affected by this. And that's been I think my vision from the get-go is no. There's going to be a huge crowd of us carrying Luke through this all over the world together to say, we have told this story, not just me. This is so much bigger than me and so much bigger than Luke. This is you. This is your family. It's all of us. So there's the cheese for the day.
I love cheese. Yeah, this is our story. And I mean, I think I love the hashtag same team because we really are all in this together, collaborating, coordinating for people along this journey. So it's important. I think when people have a little skin in the game, you take a little more pride in something too. So it's really fun to think of being part of something this big, important, and special through even a $20 donation.
Yeah.
You are making a difference. It is contributing to the outcome and the output of this film in a timely fashion. I loved, pardon?
And all I hope to do, like you said, that same us, I hope that this film, I'm this tiny little fish coming in here like, what is this? Oh my God, what are you guys doing? I had no idea. I was such an outlier to dementia and Alzheimer's that I have such pride and gratitude for people like you and the Alzheimer's Association and so many people that I hope our story launches those, that people pay more attention to people who've been pioneering these efforts, doing this every day for so long. They've got the resources, go like dial in. So I hope too that this story will magnetize people to the Alzheimer's Association, to Hilarity for Charity, to other organizations who've already been having the big conversations of medical aid and dying and end of life options, that they know this so much better than me,
Yeah, we're illuminating, we're putting a spotlight on it. Yeah. I would love to know, Brent, what is inspiring you right now? Like, what is on your playlist? What are you listening to that's feeling inspirational?
Music? Is that the question?
Sure. Sometimes people talk about books or a podcast or just like, what is inspiring you? We need inspiration in our life these days.
Yeah. This is so cheesy and I'll have to bleep myself out, but I don't know who the artist is. There's this fun song that I just bop to every now and then when I get depressed or I look out at the world and I'm like, oh God, it's still so bleak. Yeah. The lyrics are like, well, now I'm back in therapy, but I look fabulous. The chorus is like, I look fabulous. So it's like me trying to do my hair, look my best at walking out into the hellfire and brimstone, but I look fabulous doing it. Just that song is my current jam. Forgive me to the artist. I can't remember her name right now because it's 7 a.m. and I don't normally get out of bed until like 8.
Yes, I will, use the interwebs and find it, and I will link it in the show notes. We'll find it.
But TV wise, man, so many things have enlightened me up. I like the weird, quirky conversation pieces. 6 Feet Under was one of my most favorite television shows
Interesting.
because it looked at life through the lens of a family owning a funeral home,
Yeah.
and they brought so much comedy. So DTF St. Louis, other series that I'm watching on TV. I love the weird, quirky, dark. Paradise was wonderful. Um, I was background on that. I was in the Oval Office with James Marsden and Sterling K. Brown. I'm still all over the place. Like people are like, Brent, was that did I see you in that one show? I'm like, it might have been me. So I'm still doing a lot of work as an actor, and I think what's floating my boat is anybody living with resilience right now and still just out there kind of flying their own freak flag of like, yep, I'm wearing those shorts, or I'm wearing that t-shirt, or I'm this is how I'm showing up in the world, regardless of the pain, regardless of the frustration, regardless of the disagreements, and strong opinions and things that hurt and that are hard right now. As we navigate, the current landscape of time and politics, I just get lit up by great conversations like this, meeting beautiful people like you, and hearing your stories. You're my jam, Michelle.
Oh, gee whiz.
Shucks.
Shucks.
What
Yeah.
about you? What's lighting you up?
What is lighting me up right now is my garden. We are coming out of winter in the Midwest, and every day I am going outside and checking my one sugar snap pea that took.
Mm.
I planted a ton, and this one sugar snap pea is making a run for it. And it's so ridiculous, but I think to me, it does tie back into film production, disease processes. Like you kind of don't know the timeline on anything. You don't know what the fruits of those labors are going to look like or what they're going to
Right.
produce. And so as a content creator, I'm just very much feeling connected to this sugar snap pea that is making a run for it. So that is lighting me. I mean, it's so simple. It's really not elaborate, but it's
Oh,
what's
dang. It
grounding me
is.
right now.
The simple things are the big things, man.
Yeah.
It's easy to forget that. And some days I want to close myself off in the dark recesses of my room and
Mhm.
not look out, but then I go outside. Oh, let me tell you this story. There's a there's a little hike here in LA called the Wisdom Tree. And it's this tiny little tree at this top outlook. You can see the whole city, and there's a little box that people stuff notes and things inside up there. The gate to get there is up this like residential street, and they put like a code on it, and it looks like there's locks. But I took this hike the other day in the rain, and there's people standing outside the gate, and I know this because I've taken the hike multiple times. But I just had my headphones in, I'm bopping to fucking fabulous, or whatever it is, and I just walk past them, and I open the door, and they all look at me like, oh, oh, that door opens. That's like, yeah, you just got to turn the handle. You just got to ask to get where you're going. And I ended my hike, and I dropped some of our little QR codes with Luke's face in the wisdom box so that people would scan it and see our website. I ended the hike, and I came out of the gates, and these two young kids going up to the gate, they did the same thing. And so I stopped and just watched them walk to the gate, and they turned around, and I was like,
Turn
I
the
signaled, turn the
handle.
handle, and they did. And it just reminded me in life, you got to ask. Ask for the door
Mm.
to open. Turn the handle. More and more. You don't know until you ask. And so uh, I feel like with my production company and what I wish to do as a visionary and storyteller with my company is to tell stories that matter. I always want to
Mm.
find things that will resonate, whether it's my sobriety or coming out and growing up rural, and no matter what it is, I want to find that connective vein with people that is love and that is worth talking about. So I don't hesitate to. Don't you get tired asking people for money as an independent filmmaker? I'm like, no, it's a joy. I'm making an invitation. Open the door,
Mhm.
baby. Come along for the ride. So you don't get through unless you turn the handle and ask. That
I
lit me
love
up.
it. Yeah, I love it. Well, thank you so much for your time today and being here and sharing the work that you're doing and about Luke and how
Yeah.
incredible he is.
Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Just getting to unfold it with you.
My pleasure.